Two great games in the NBA playoffs took place on Thursday night. First, it was the Indiana Pacers. They defeat the Milwaukee Bucks 120-98, and the Pacers take that series 4-2. Shout out to the Pacers. The one thing I noticed about them, even with them losing in the play-in championship game against the Los Angeles Lakers, is that the Pacers, man, they can score a bunch of points under Rick Carlisle. But what happened with this Pacers team throughout the season is that they were able to pick up Pascal Siakam, a very good player. He had 19 points tonight. Also, Tyrese Halliburton is a fantastic player. If you have not watched him all season, watch him in the second round because he's a catalyst for this Pacers team. But the bench really stepped up in a big way for Indiana. It was TJ McConnell with 20 points, and it was Obi Toppin with 21 coming off the bench for the Pacers. So a team that can fill it up, that can score a ton of points, they did that against the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks, what an interesting story they are. Do you know that the Bucks, since winning the championship, since winning in the finals a few years ago, they've had a second-round exit, a first-round exit, and another first-round exit. Under Doc Rivers, who took over for Adrian Griffin. You remember this, right? Adrian Griffin was originally the head coach. He was fired in, less than 2 months in his first head coaching job in the NBA. Under Doc Rivers, the Bucks were in the bottom half of the league in offensive rating, defensive rating, net rating, and record, and knocked out in round one. And it was not good for the Milwaukee Bucks. And yes, they did not have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Maybe this thing goes 7, and maybe the Bucks win. Who knows? But the point is, though, is that for Giannis Antetokounmpo to hint that he might want to leave and not happy with the coaching and all this kind of stuff, well, he's got to be available, especially in the playoffs, and he was not. So in this game, you got Middleton with 14 points. You saw Damian Lillard make his way back into the rotation after he had an injury. He had 28 points. But this whole thing, then you're trying to put a super team together. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. Damian Lillard, everyone begged for him to get out of Portland. Oh, he's got to get out of Portland. Now he's with Giannis and he's with Chris Middleton, and somehow, some way, did not work. They fired the coach early, and you saw what happened. Doc Rivers comes in. He was a broadcaster, gets out of the booth, and makes really no difference for this Bucks team because this Bucks team can't get out of its own way. It's just not a good mix. There's good pieces, but the Bucks, for that talent, for them to fall flat in the first round again, that is just embarrassing for the Milwaukee Bucks in a big way. Now, does Doc Rivers come back? Doc Rivers has seen his share of a lot of losing. Yes, he is an NBA champion. There's no doubt about that. But the point is, though, is that Doc Rivers is a cheerleader, and he's a backpatter, and he loves to shake hands, and try to get his team motivated. But when it comes to X's and O's, when a team has got their back against the wall, that's not what Doc does. Even with all that talent, you would think that the Bucks could get past the Pacers. That was not the case in game number 1. So the Pacers move on. That's going to be interesting. And what about the nightcap? Everyone was interested in the Knicks and the 76ers because this game took place in Philadelphia. And the story coming into the game is that Michael Rubin, who used to be a part owner of the 76ers, the head of Fanatics, he steps in and says, I'm going to buy 2,500 tickets, and I'm going to make sure that Knicks fans stay out of Philadelphia. He's trying to give it to Philadelphia fans, first responders, and the like. It didn't work. There was Knicks fans all over the place that was rooting for New York because the Knicks won 118-115. It was a fabulous matchup and a great series, by the way, too. A great series. That's what the NBA playoffs are supposed to look like. The Knicks and the 76ers, two teams that don't hate each other. They don't like each other, and you got a fan base that don't like each other very much. That was a lot of fun to watch. So, from the 76ers standpoint, they were the first ones to talk about, let's trust the process. Got to have the process. You remember this under Sam Presti, the general manager. Trust the process. Okay. Well, since trusting the process, going back to 2013 and 2014, meaning we are tanking and we have a process to win a championship. So ever since the process started in 13 and 14, according to StatMuse, Boston's been into 10 playoffs and 5 East Finals. Trust the process, huh? Milwaukee's been to 2 East Finals and 9 playoffs. The Miami Heat with their culture, 8 playoffs and 4 East Finals. Toronto with 8 playoffs. Atlanta with 7 playoffs. Indiana's been in the playoffs 7 times. Brooklyn been in the playoffs 7 times. Philadelphia's been in the playoffs 7 times. And no East Finals. Trust the process, huh? Joel Embiid is out of there. He is out of Philadelphia at some point because he's got to be frustrated. He was not 100%, but he played well on Thursday night, played well enough for them to win, but he fouled out in the contest. And when he fouled out, I knew this was over. Dude had 39 points at Big Oak Tree. He had 39 points and he had 13 rebounds. And he was in there for 40 minutes. He was perfect from the foul line, all the things he wanted from Joel Embiid, but then it was about the others, right? Tobias Harris did not score in the game. He did not score. Maxey had 17 points, but he was 1 for 6 from 3. Kelly Oubre had 17 points, and he was a nice catalyst for them in the starting rotation. And you had Buddy Hield, who had a hell of a ball game. I've always liked Buddy Hield's game, but he's off the bench, and he had 20 points in 21 minutes. But somehow Nick Nurse did not play him enough down the stretch. He was hot in the first half, and then in the third quarter, you didn't see Buddy Hield. Like, where was he? He could have helped the team because this is win or go home situation, and Buddy Hield only had 20 points in 21 minutes. I don't know why they didn't use him more. 16 points for Batum, and then that's it for the 76ers. Trust the process, huh? At home, big spot. They lose the game against the New York Knicks. Shout out to the New York Knicks. Give them the credit because this team, led by Jalen Brunson, he had 41 points. 41 points. He has just been incredible for the New York Knicks. He had 12 assists. Along with that, you had Hartenstein with 14 points. You had Anunoby with 19. DiVincenzo with 23. When they needed to make big shots, they made big shots. I am going to give them full credit. They were fantastic. And they had a huge lead in the first quarter. They were up 36-22 after the first, but gives the Sixers a lot of their due too because they chipped away. They took the lead, but this, I tell you what, there's a lot of resolve and a lot of resistance with this Knicks team, so they did a terrific job. Here's some stats for you. Jalen Brunson. How special is Jalen Brunson? I will tell you. All right, 27-year-olds, and he's 27. 27-year-olds with 35-plus points per game in the playoffs. The list is Jalen Brunson, and he walks with Michael Jordan and Elgin Baylor. That's pretty good, right? 27-year-olds with 35 points a game in the playoffs, Michael, Elgin, and now Jalen Brunson. I'm so impressed by this young man. I'll give you another stat. Jalen Brunson is averaging more points and assists than Luka Doncic this postseason. I want to know how good that Jalen Brunson's been. That's how good he's been. And just one more for you as well. Jalen Brunson with the Knicks. His last 4 playoff games, 41 points a game, 16 assists a game, shooting 50% from the field. Yeah, that young man is playing his best basketball of his career for Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau, the head coach for the Knicks. And once again, the Knicks get to the next level. They go to the second round. Now what's going to happen? All I know is that the playoffs have been a lot of fun, especially during this time, because now we're going to go into the second round and find out what happens. But those two teams, in particular, the 76ers with their trust the process bullshit, it ain't working. And there's going to be some changes there. If Embiid comes back and he looks around and says, oh, I got Maxey, and then what? How's this team going to get better? Kyle Lowry did not score in the contest as well for the 76ers. They got to make some changes there. But then on top of that, the Milwaukee Bucks, I thought that Giannis can win at least a couple of championships in Milwaukee, but the mix is not right in Milwaukee. But shout out to Indiana and the Knicks, though. I mean, this Knicks team, I have Knicks friends, and I know that they're going to be partying all night just because they got out of the first round, because they beat the Sixers, but it was a hard-fought 4-2 series win for the Knicks. I'm just tripping on how great that series was and what the Knicks are going to be like. But Jalen Brunson is that dude. Think about all the great point guards you see in the playoffs. Then think about Jalen Brunson. I want to get your thoughts below. What did you think? Give me your comments about the NBA playoffs. So much fun to watch. Really enjoyed it. Go New York, go New York, go, huh? We're going to see. And the Indiana Pacers, they're going to be a tough out as well.